Miraculously revealed, the shocking moment God's plan almost ended Moses' divine calling. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, the desert wind swept through the rugged cliffs of Midian, carrying the whispers of a man burdened by his past. Moses, a shepherd tending the flocks of Jethro, felt the weight of his transgressions. Fleeing from Egypt after slaying an Egyptian to defend his fellow Hebrew, he had sought refuge in this barren land. Though he found solace in the mountains, a hidden fire torched his heart. He had settled into a humble life with Zipporah, the priest's daughter, yet his identity oscillated between his past shame and an unvoiced calling. One evening, as twilight draped its veil over the land, a peculiar sight drew his weary eyes. A bush caught fire, not consumed by the blazing heat. It glowed with a divine radiance, casting shadows that danced like souls on the desert floor. Intrigued, he approached cautiously, for the sight was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Out of the flame came a voice, "Moses! Moses!" It was the voice of the Lord, commanding and profound. "Do not draw near, take your sandals off your feet, for the place where you stand is holy ground." Moses, trembling, listened as God spoke of the suffering of his people in Egypt and revealed his plan to deliver them from bondage. "I have come down to deliver them, and now you shall go, for I am sending you." Doubts clouded Moses' heart. How could a fugitive like him, stained by guilt, fulfill such a mission? Yet within the flame flickered hope, a calling that ignited the very core of his being. With a trembling voice, he replied, "Here I am," accepting the charge, though filled with fear and uncertainty. Before Moses and his family could embark on the journey back to Egypt, the air turned charged with an unearthly presence. The road was flanked by shadows, each step taken heavy with expectation. But unbeknownst to Moses, the weight of obedience loomed over him like a storm cloud. As they traveled, God sought to confront an overlooked covenant. His purpose required the act of circumcision, a sign of fidelity to his promise. In the stillness of the night, as the stars shone brightly above, a dread broke upon the darkened path. Suddenly, God sought to take Moses' life, a divine judgment falling on him for failing to fulfill the covenant. Darkness threatened his sacred mission, and he teetered on the edge of failure. Zipporah, sensing the impending doom, recognized the fatal danger looming over her husband. In a torrent of desperation, her heart surged with fierce resolve. She seized a sharp stone and, with swift obedience, performed the circumcision, trembling at the weight of the moment. Touching Moses' feet with the blood, she proclaimed, "Surely, you are a bridegroom of blood to me." In that moment, their family stood united by the covenant, and the air around them changed. The divine wrath abated, revealing mercy. Moses arose, no longer shackled by fear, but renewed with purpose and strength. He realized that Zipporah's act of devotion was crucial, a reminder of their bond and responsibility. In the ancient traditions, covenant loyalty was revered, sealing a family's heart in God's promise to Abraham. With the path ahead still shrouded in mystery, Moses wrestled with questions of his calling. The road to Egypt lay before them, yet the true journey rested within. A greater adventure grounded in divine purpose awaited. With renewed vigor, he stepped forward, his heart ignited with hope and the weight of obedience. The story they would write had begun, a tale of trials and triumph, shrouded in the sacred and the unknown. Will they meet the promises written in the heart of God or falter against the storms ahead? Only the unfolding of his divine plan would reveal the path. And it came to pass, as Moses journeyed with Zipporah and their sons, the dawn of a new day broke over the horizon of Egypt. The air was thick with anticipation, and the weight of destiny pressed heavily upon them. The memories of the past mingled with the call to action that reverberated in Moses' heart. He was chosen for a purpose that transcended human understanding. As they approached the land of Egypt, Moses' mind turned towards the people he had left, his brothers ensnared in anguish and despair, their cries ascending to heaven like smoke from a fire. Yet, what would he say? How would he present himself to the elders of Israel? Would they listen to him, this man stained by fear and shame? In his moment of contemplation, the Lord spoke again, filling the silence with his promise, "When you go back to Egypt, see that you do all the wonders before Pharaoh which I have put in your hand, but I will harden his heart, that he shall not let the people go." Exodus 4 verse 21. The divine declaration echoed in Moses' spirit, calling forth bravery from the depths of his soul. Yet a tremor of apprehension still lingered within him, for he sensed the fierce resistance that awaited him in Pharaoh's court. With a deep breath, Moses prepared to speak to Zipporah, gathering the courage to share the tumultuous path ahead. "My love, the Lord has called me. We must go to the house of Pharaoh and demand the release of our people. But know this, the heart of Pharaoh will be hardened, his gaze will be fierce, we pursue a great battle." Zipporah looked deeply into Moses' eyes, pondering the gravity of his words. "Will you go alone, my husband? Are we not to stand together in this hour of trial?" Nodding, Moses took her hands. "Our voices shall unite, but the Lord has set my path before me. He is with us, even in the uncertain waters that lie ahead." As he spoke, a resolute strength filled the space between them, illuminated by the flame of divine purpose that had once called him, and so they arrived in Egypt, where the air was heavy with the toll of bondage. The elders of Israel were gathering like dry reeds waiting for the flame of hope. Moses approached them, dread and determination swirling in his heart. "The God of our fathers, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, has sent me to you," he called out. "He has seen our affliction, and his will is to deliver us from the hand of the Egyptians." As he spoke, the faces surrounding him mirrored his own inner turmoil. Skepticism intermingled with the flicker of hope awakening in their weary hearts, yet even as the words left his lips, a shadow crossed over the gathering. For from the palace came those loyal to Pharaoh, agents cloaked in power and pride, who would test Moses' resolve. They had heard of the Hebrews' return and the whispers of rebellion that surrounded him. "Cursed be the day you take up such a mantle," one shouted, stepping forward. "Who are you to speak of freedom? Are you not the slayer of an Egyptian?" Moses' heart quickened, the accusation cut deep, binding him momentarily to the shame of his past. Yet, in that vulnerable moment, he remembered the voice from the burning bush. Encouraged by the Spirit, he proclaimed with newfound boldness, "I stand not alone. For the Lord He who is I am commands this deliverance, and His power will be displayed." As the tumult swirled around him, a deep dread wrapped visibly around the hearts of the Egyptians, and they fled as if pursued by a great force. With the elders stirred and seeking guidance, Moses stood tall, ready to face the trials ahead. It was clear that God's divine plan was greater than the fears that threatened to ensnare him. Yet, amid the flames of apprehension, hidden among whispers of faith, was a lingering question: how would the Lord fulfill this promise amidst the hardened hearts of men? The unfolding tapestry of deliverance had begun, but the climax of this divine tale awaited. Would this be but the inception of greater wonders, or would the shadows strangle what had begun? And it came to pass, as Moses gathered the elders of Israel, the air thickened with uncertainty and dread echoed in their hearts. The murmurs of doubt wove through the crowd, intertwining with the vibrant promise Moses had declared. The tension in his chest weighed upon him, for even in this gathering, a deep battle had begun, a spiritual confrontation that mirrored the struggle ahead. "Brothers," Moses implored, his voice rising above their apprehension, "the Lord has revealed himself to me in flames of fire. He has heard our cries and has declared our freedom." Yet, he perceived the doubt lingering amongst them, like clouds hiding the sun, casting shadows over the dawn of hope. "Why should we believe you, Moses?" one elder challenged, his brow furrowed with skepticism. "Are you not because of your own shame the same man who fled in fear? What evidence do you bring?" In that moment, doubt threatened to crush the growing embers of faith. The weight of their eyes bore into him, and Moses lifted his gaze unto heaven, praying silently for the Spirit's guiding presence. Then suddenly, a knowing surged through him. He remembered the signs bestowed upon him. "The Lord spoke to me," he declared boldly, "and gave me the power to perform signs." With that, Moses stretched forth his rod, and in a swift motion, the staff transformed into a serpent, curling upon the dust of the earth. Gasps erupted among the elders, astonished by what they beheld, yet, among the crowd, one who had been sent by Pharaoh moved forward with a hardened heart. "A trick!" he shouted, his voice laced with bitterness. The learned magicians of Egypt could do the same. It is mere sorcery. Even as doubt crept in, Moses understood the severity of the challenge laid before him. The Lord shall show his might, and you will see a greater sign. With a touch of urgency, Moses called upon the waters of the Nile. By the power of the Almighty, let this river swell with blood. As he spoke, the waters turned along the banks, staining the earth crimson, a horrifying sight that echoed the judgment to come. Panic arose among the Egyptians, and even the elders of Israel felt the tremors of fear beneath their feet. Yet the servant of Pharaoh remained unyielding, declaring with contempt, "Your God is but a deception to draw us into chaos." Moses' heart wrenched as those words pierced through the hope dwindling amongst his people. "Can you not see?" he cried out. "These signs are but the beginning of deliverance. The Lord has not sent me to bring confusion but to fulfill his covenant." With the elders restless, murmuring among themselves, it became evident that Pharaoh's heart would indeed be a mighty stronghold, even amidst the trials that awaited. Yet hope kindled anew, as one elder whispered, "We shall seek the Lord, may he grant us strength to discern what is true." And thus, amidst dread and disbelief, the Israelites contemplated their fate, torn between the skepticism of their immediate plight and the promise of liberation on the horizon. As Moses knelt, seeking the Lord, he felt the weight of heaven press upon him, a reminder that he was tasked not only with leading but with confronting the most formidable doubt, a doubt that would test not just Pharaoh but the very heart of the Israelites. But what they could not yet fathom, a thought echoed in his spirit, is that in the depths of their fear lay the awakening of faith. Would the signs and wonders be enough to illuminate the truth of God's mercy? Would the hardened hearts of men give way to divine purpose? The shadows had begun to move, but the radiant light of God's sovereign plan was still unfolding, beckoning them to trust in the impossible as the battle commenced for the soul of a nation. And it came to pass that after Moses had called upon the elders to witness the signs from the Lord, an ominous silence fell over the assembly. The air thickened with the weight of expectancy, and the hearts of the Israelites surged, torn between doubt and hope. In that stillness, a profound fear gripped Moses. He recalled the words that the Lord had spoken to him in the wilderness, "Go to Pharaoh, and say to him, 'Let my people go.'" Yet, the intensity of the mission weighed heavily upon him. "O Lord," he murmured in desperation, "what if the signs are not enough? What if they do not believe?" At that moment, the Spirit of the Lord enveloped him, filling him with strength and clarity. "You shall speak," the Lord assured him, "and I shall be with your mouth." Encouraged, Moses turned back to the elders, determination shining in his weary eyes. "The Lord will stretch out his hand, and we shall see his salvation." As word of his signs spread, the elders began to gather their families, their doubts giving way to a faint glimmer of faith. "Let us tell our children and our children's children," one elder proclaimed, "of the mighty acts God is about to do. Perhaps it is a time for a great deliverance." With fervor ignited within their hearts, they began to prepare for the journey, but not without the taunts of the Pharaoh's messenger still echoing in their ears. For the servant of Pharaoh, emboldened by arrogance and disdain, yet ached to return to his master with vindications against this deluded escape. "Moses," he shouted, confronting the now aroused crowd, "you speak of deliverance, yet your people remain shackled by the burdens of Egypt. Do not the stones of these bricks speak of futility in your dreams?" The elders' resolve faltered. The specter of their pain resurfaced, and a murmur of doubt spread like wildfire. "How can we believe?" they whispered, their eyes darting with uncertainty. Moses, feeling the fresh wave of despair wash over him, raised his voice, "Do not give in to fear. For even now, the Lord is at work. He says, 'I shall redeem you with an outstretched arm and with great judgments.' He promised us that our cries have been heard, and the hour of our deliverance is near." And suddenly, as if heavens themselves were moved by his promise, Moses raised his rod again, and the very earth trembled. "Let the Lord's word come forth," he decreed. The ground shook lightly, and thunder echoed in the distance, a forewarning of the storm of judgments to come. "The first of many shall arise." And with every wonder, shall be your reminder of faith. But the heart of one elder quaked with terror. What if it is too late? He lamented, gazing into the distance where the Egyptians gathered strength. What if indeed we are left as mere fodder for Pharaoh's wrath? Moses. Came the voice of another, what if we are not strong enough to withstand what is yet to come? But in that moment, the Spirit interjected within Moses' heart an urgent whisper of God's immutable promise. You are my people, I shall not forsake you. Thus, gathered around their leader, the elders began to shed their fear. With renewed vigor, they held candle flames of hope in their hearts, desiring only to witness the unfurling of God's grand tapestry of redemption. And Moses stood, feeling the weight of all creation poised upon him, recognizing that this moment was a crossroads, a liminal space where destiny hung in the balance. The elders found solace in their unity, yet beneath the surface stirred anxious anticipation. The Pharaoh's heart proved no less of a barrier than the sea that lay before them. Yet, what they could not yet see, in the shadows that loomed upon their horizon, was the unveiling of God's sovereign plan, his might poised like an angel before the dawn, ready to drive forth their deliverance where none could intercede. For the hour of the Lord was drawing near, the time had come for an unexpected confrontation, one that would not merely shift the sands of their captivity but alter the course of nations forever. And it came to pass, as Moses stood before the elders, the clouds gathered darker over the land of Egypt, and a wind began to blow with a fierce intensity. The heavens seemed to roar in unison, as if the Creator himself was forewarning the nations of the great acts about to unfold. Behold, the Lord's eye is upon you. Moses proclaimed, his voice earnest and steady, cutting through the torrent of doubt. He has sent me, for a purpose cannot be thwarted. The elders gazed intently upon him, their hearts yearning for the promise to materialize, even as fear nipped at their heels. Suddenly, one among the crowd, a woman named Miriam, stepped forth, emboldened by the Spirit of God. Moses, we know not what lies ahead, but we will follow the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. His ways may not be our ways, yet his truth shall guide us. With her words, the hearts of the people ignited anew. Yes. They cried, voices lifted in defiance of despair. Let us stand firm, for the Lord fights for us. Yet, a message came from Pharaoh, his voice dripping with contempt. The messenger stood tall, declaring, Thus saith Pharaoh, you are but slaves. I shall not grant your request. You'll toil harder, and your burdens shall increase. Your hopes shall be crushed beneath the weight of bricks and mortar. The dread descended like a shadow, reverberating through the assembly. What cruelty! They murmured among themselves. His heart is hardened, how can we believe we shall ever be free? Moses, sensing the encroaching darkness, sought the face of the Lord. O God, he cried within himself, casting his gaze towards the skies, has your promise vanished? Is my calling an illusion? For Pharaoh's disdain is insatiable. Then the Lord spoke to him as a whisper among the tempest. Fear not, my servant. For I have seen the affliction of my people, and the cries of their hearts have reached me. I shall send plagues upon Egypt, and through these wonders, they shall know that I am the Lord. Moses gathered strength from the divine reassurance. Behold, the Lord of hosts is with us. Prepare yourselves. He urged, his fervor igniting the spirits of those surrounding him. Let every family hearken to the words of the Lord. Take your lamb and observe it for 4 days, as a sign of the covenant to come. He continued, revealing the sacred ritual commanded to protect them under the blood of the lamb. The people began to move, their urgency palpable, as they gathered their families in fervent expectation. Yet, another elder, a sage named Eleazar, cautioned, and what of the sacrifices we must make? Will Pharaoh not notice? Moses raised his hand once more with authority. The Lord shall prepare a way where there is none. Each act of obedience draws us closer to salvation. Let not the fear of man overwhelm the faith of God as promise. As they whispered the words of fear, the winds howled louder, bearing witness to the sacred intent unfolding. The Israelites worked as one, each heart beating with a newfound zeal, yet knowing the threat that lingered, and, lo, a dread fell over the Egyptians, for night encroached deeper, and dusky shadows masked their land, darkening even the hearts of the mightiest of men. Pharaoh himself shuddered in his palatial court as whispers of a storm reached him, an exodus of a people who would defy the chains, and so the scene was set for an epic confrontation, one that heaven and earth awaited in breathless anticipation. Yet within the tumult, Moses stood firm, unaware that the path of assurance would soon weave through heartache where his calling would be tested, and where God's sovereign plan would be revealing itself in the most unexpected of ways, for in the unfolding tapestry, an unraveling awaited, and what lay beneath could shatter all hope or bring forth the ultimate triumph of deliverance. This, the people could not fathom, yet through it all, the unshakable truth echoed, even when the shadows grow long, the light of God's promise shines bright upon the path of those who trust in him. And it came to pass on the morrow that Moses arose early in the morning, the weight of his mission upon him. The Lord's call hung in the air like the fragrance of incense, mingled with the growing burden of Pharaoh's anger. He gathered the people together, stirring within them the heart of obedience. "Gather unto me your lambs," he commanded with fervor. "For the Lord has appointed a time for our deliverance. It is written, you shall keep it until the 14th day of this month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it at twilight." Exodus 12 verse 6, as dusk approached, a solemnity filled the hearts of the Israelites. Families huddled together, their eyes wide with fear and anticipation, preparing to obey the word of the Lord. The little lambs, pure and spotless, were selected, and the air hummed with an electric tension. They sensed a profound shift in the heavens and earth, yet, news reached Pharaoh that the Israelites were sacrificing their lambs in preparation for departure. His fury bubbled as a cauldron over a fierce flame, and he summoned Moses and Aaron. "Why do you cause the people to rest from their burdens?" he barked, voice echoing against the granite walls of the palace. "You have made them more resilient in their folly. I shall double their tasks, and they will see their fate sealed in toil." Moses stood undeterred, for the Lord's message was clear. "Thus saith the Lord of hosts, at midnight, I will go out into the midst of Egypt, and all the firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die." Exodus 11 verses 4-5. As he spoke those words, a hush fell over the room, fear cloaked Pharaoh like a shroud, yet his pride would not yield. The appointed day arrived, and the Israelites made haste, their hearts pounded with a mixture of longing and dread. They took the blood of the lamb and smeared it upon the doorposts, just as the Lord had commanded, whilst the whispers of their ancestors yet rang in their ears. "The blood shall be a sign for you on the houses where you are. When I see the blood, I will pass over you, and no plague will befall you to destroy you." Exodus 12 verse 13, Miriam danced among the women, beating her timbrel and declaring the faithfulness of God, leading an echo of praise. "Great is his faithfulness. He shall deliver us. Fear not." The rhythmic sound surged through the gathered crowd, filling the air with hope, but lo, as midnight struck, a dread silence engulfed Egypt, thicker than the deepest night. Pharaoh's household became a symphony of despair as the firstborn wails pierced the stillness, a mournful sound that rose from every corner, touching the hearts of the proud and the humble alike. The Lord's judgments had landed heavy, as his word had foretold, and in that moment, Pharaoh summoned Moses with a roar of wrath mingled with terror. "Get you gone. Take your people and your flocks. Bless me as you go." Moses, seeing the fulfillment of the prophecy, felt the weight of divine urgency. As the Israelites gathered to leave, they spared one last glance at the land that had been their prison, wondering if the night carried the promise of dawn. The Lord spoke again to Moses, reminding him, "Tell the people to ask their neighbors for silver and gold jewelry." Exodus 11 verse 2, and as they departed, the Egyptians, desperate to void the wrath of God, bestowed their riches unburdened. Thus did God prepare a way for his people while simultaneously delivering judgment upon the oppressor. Yet amidst their fleeing, Moses could not shake the foreboding sense that awaited them upon their path, a challenge that might attempt to thwart the fullness of God's plan. And his heart stirred with the awareness that their exodus was only the beginning, for heaven's sovereign purpose was woven into the very fabric of their flight. but the true revelation of God's plan lay still ahead, waiting to be unveiled, and unbeknownst to the Israelites, the very next scene would disclose not just their deliverance, but the profound depths of divine grace that would bind their hearts eternally to the Lord of hosts. And the children of Israel journeyed forth, their hearts a tumult of emotion, the echoes of their screams mingling with songs of joy. They moved under the cover of night, their feet quickened by the urgency of the moment, the blood of the Lamb still fresh upon their thoughts. Yet unknown to them, the path ahead was fraught with the shadows that loomed long and heavy, casting doubt upon the banner of hope raised high above their heads. As daybreak approached, the Lord said unto Moses, Speak unto the children of Israel, that they turn and camp before Pi-hahiroth, between Migdol and the sea, over against Baal-zephon. Exodus 14 verse 2, with steadfast conviction, Moses obeyed, guiding the multitude to the encampment where the winds whispered secrets of the impending trials, but behold, Pharaoh's heart hardened once more, for in the stillness of dawn, the realization of loss enveloped him, gripping him with relentless fury. What is this we have done? He cried, that we have let go of Israel, and they do not serve us? With anguish burning in his pride, he summoned his chariots and set forth with his chosen warriors, intent on reclaiming what he deemed his. The dark clouds of retribution advanced like a fierce storm, and fear arose upon the faces of the people. When the Israelites saw the dust of Pharaoh's chariots rise in the distance, they trembled, hearts sinking like stones in the mire of despair. Why did you bring us out here to die? They cried unto Moses. Their words, laden with bitterness, cut deep into his soul, for he had borne the burden of doubt, yet their cries echoed as heavy chains upon his spirit. Is it not enough that we were servants in Egypt? Now we perish here in this wilderness? Exodus 14 verses 11 to 12, Moses stood amid their despair, a glimpse of divine courage ignited within him. Raising his voice above the clamor, he called unto them, Fear ye not, stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will show you today. Exodus 14 verse 13. The assurance of God's omnipotence stirred a flicker of hope amongst the throng. They dared to breathe hope as they clung to the words of their leader. And the Lord said unto Moses, Wherefore criest thou unto me? Speak unto the children of Israel that they go forward. But lift thou up thy rod, and stretch out thine hand over the sea, and divide it, and the children of Israel shall go on dry ground through the midst of the sea. Exodus 14 verses 15 to 16. With trembling yet faithful hands, Moses lifted the rod, obedience drawing forth divine intervention. The winds began to blow as the sea parted, water rising like walls on either side, revealing a path of dry ground. The hearts of the people surged with awe, and they began to step forward, trepidation mingling with faith. As they crossed, Miriam struck her timbrel once more, leading songs of praise amidst their wonder. Look upon the works of the Lord. He makes a way where there seems to be no way. But as Pharaoh drew near, the Lord spoke again to Moses, For I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, and they shall follow them, and I will get me honor upon Pharaoh, and upon all his host, and the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord. Exodus 14 verses 17 to 18. Thus, with hearts full of dread and faces set as flint, the Egyptians charged into the dry ground. The sound of hooves pounded against the earth, an ominous echo of wrath as rage propelled them forth into the divine plan. Yet the Israelites, halfway through the sea, exhilaration and fear intertwined, were unwitting participants in a narrative woven by God's sovereign grace. In that ancient moment of truth, the unveiling of God's majestic deliverance would ignite a sense not only of liberation but of the covenant that would mold their identity. For a revelation awaited them that pointed toward an everlasting promise, God's grace leading them not just toward freedom, but into a relationship that would forever change their hearts. And thus the saga continued, as the finale of their journey was unfolding, revealing that the trials they faced were but steps toward a dramatic revelation of God's everlasting covenant, a truth still yet to be fully uncovered in the tapestry of their lives. And as the children of Israel hastened through the path unveiled before them, the heart of Moses beat both with faith and a growing trepidation. For he could sense the looming presence of the Egyptians pursuing them, fiery wrath igniting the chasm of fear between the two nations. The walls of water encompassed them like divine sentinels, a miracle holding back the tides, yet the tumult of hoofbeats resonated like thunder in his ears. He turned to the Israelites, urging them onward with emphatic fervor, "Hasten, my brethren. The Lord goes before us. He fights for us." Yet uncertainty clouded the faces of many, their eyes vast pools of dread reflecting the relentless pursuit behind them. Behold, the Lord had given a command, and the furious chariots of Pharaoh pursued them, each heartbeat echoing like the drum of war. The dust stirred beneath, and the Israelites, now before the roaring sea with escape glimmering just ahead, were chastened by doubt. "Will he truly deliver us?" murmured some among them, their faith almost extinguished as fear beckoned them back toward the grasp of captivity. Suddenly, the Lord intervened, a cloud of darkness descending upon the Egyptians, and in that moment, confusion swept over their ranks. "Alas, their chariot wheels are become heavy." One cried to another, their pride faltering as the divine hand's firm grip restrained their advance. "The God of the Hebrews fights for them." Moses stood firm, holding the rod of God above him. The water trembled at the command of his voice, and with great authority, he called to the Lord, "O God, show thy might this day for the glory of thy name." Exodus 14 verse 15. In response, the Lord spoke to him once again, "Stretch thine hand over the sea, that the waters may come again upon the Egyptians." Exodus 14 verse 26, Moses obeyed, stretching forth his hand. And behold, the waters surged, resuming their wrath with a great roar like the crashing of cymbals in a storm. The Egyptians, caught in the grip of chaos, became entangled within the power of the unfathomable waves, their cries swallowed by the depths. As the last of Pharaoh's chariots were engulfed in the thundering surge, a great silence fell over the land. The children of Israel emerged upon the other shore, breathless and astounded, their hearts swelling with the crescendo of deliverance. "Sing ye unto the Lord, for he hath triumphed gloriously," Miriam proclaimed, leading the assembly into songs of jubilant praise. "The horse and his rider hath he thrown into the sea." Exodus 15 verse 21, but amid the celebrations, a deeper truth loomed. God's plans were far greater than simple deliverance. He had orchestrated a mighty act that echoed not only in the hearts of Israel but resonated throughout generations as a testament to his faithfulness. As the sun hung low in the sky, illuminating the waters that had reclaimed their fury, Moses sought the Lord in the sanctity of prayer. Yet, even as he worshipped, a shadow of uncertainty flickered within him. "What next, O Lord?" he whispered, pondering the daunting journey ahead. The Lord answered him with assurance, "You have witnessed my hand, O Moses, yet there is more yet to be unveiled. For through these waters, you will know the depths of my covenant, and the path I have laid before you will be a sign unto the nations." Thus, the children of Israel stood on the shores of freedom, unaware that their passage was but the beginning of an unfolding narrative, one that would etch the story of their identity into the very fabric of history, a foretelling of the promises yet to be fulfilled in ways unimaginable as the sovereign hand of God continued to guide them forth. As the dawn broke anew, its light painted the sky in hues of gold and crimson, the shores of the Red Sea glistened like the promises of God. The children of Israel stood awash in gratitude, lifted upon the waves of newfound freedom. Yet, within Moses, the weight of the calling surged heavier than any wave that parted under divine command. "Lord, thou hast delivered us from the hand of the oppressor," Moses began, his voice trembling as he gazed upon the multitude, a sea of faces, their futures uncertain. "But what shall become of us now in this wilderness? Our hearts are filled with wonder, yet our spirits are weary." The Lord's voice came to him like a whisper in the wind, "You are to lead these people, for I shall provide. I have not brought them this far to abandon them to despair. I am the God who supplies for every need, and I will send them forth with a mighty hand." Encouraged yet still grappling with the enormity of the path ahead, Moses gathered the people. "Hear me, O children of Israel. The Lord has made a covenant with us, he has set us apart as his own. We shall journey forward, for the land he promised is not far." His words flowed with the urgency of a heart set ablaze by divine purpose, but among the assembled, doubt still lingered. "What if we perish in this desert?" A voice cried, piercing the veil of hope. What shall we eat, and where shall we find water? Moses felt the weight of their concerns, for even that day he had been plagued by visions of their plight. Yet in that intricate moment of human frailty, the Lord spoke once more. Tell them, Moses, that they shall know I am the Lord their God, who brings forth sustenance from the heavens. In obedience, Moses declared, the Lord shall provide meat in the evening and bread in the morning. As he spoke, the atmosphere shifted, reverberating with an anticipation that scarcely could be contained. The people looked to the heavens, doubt slowly yielding to wonderment. As the sun dipped below the horizon, a gentle breeze swept through the camp, rustling the fabric of their expectations. That very night, quail descended upon them like a gust of grace, filling the air with the aroma of sustenance. And in the early light of dawn, the ground bore a frost that glimmered as fine as the stars. They had often wished upon manna, daily bread from the giver of life, cascading softly down from the heavens. With each morsel consumed, faith began to weave its tendrils around the hearts of Israel. They marveled, "What is this?" And Moses, in divine wisdom, answered, "This is the bread of heaven, the food which the Lord has given you to sustain you in your journey." Yet even as the people celebrated, Moses felt the struggle within his own heart, the pangs of leadership that came with such a weighty mantle. "O Lord," he whispered in solitude, "must I forever bear this yoke? Who am I that I should lead such a great nation?" In the stillness, the Lord's reply resonated deeply, "Moses, your humility is known to me, yet through your weakness, I will display my strength. For in the days ahead, I shall reveal my covenant, a promise that will echo into generations, a promise fulfilled through the sacrificial path before you." Thus, Moses stood, a mediator between God and his chosen people, beckoning them ever further on the journey of faith. Each step forward marked the unfolding of a greater purpose, threads of a divine tapestry entwining their destinies. But a greater secret lay ahead, hidden within the fabric of the covenant. As they wandered through the wilderness, a shadow loomed, waiting for the moment to unveil the full measure of God's sovereign plan, a plan that would shake the foundations of their understanding, leading them toward a destiny intertwined with the heart of heaven itself. And it came to pass after many days wandered in the wilderness, that the Israelites learned to depend upon the Lord with a newfound faith, their hearts intertwined with the truth of his provision. The manna continued to fall, day after day, each grain a reminder of God's faithfulness, each meal an offering of gratitude as their strength renewed. Yet among them, the people's struggles were not without strife, for weariness drove many to question the journey laid before them. They had witnessed the greatness of God, yet fear would often seep through the cracks of faith like water through the parched earth. Moses, burdened by the weight of leadership, sought the face of God. "O Lord," he cried, lifting his hands to the heavens, "how long shall I bear this weight? For the people grow restless, and their grievances rise like smoke before you." In the secret place, the Lord spoke to him with gentle assurance, "Moses, convene the elders of the people, and I will pour out my spirit upon them. A portion of your spirit I shall give, that they may bear the burden together." Obeying the Lord's command, Moses gathered the chosen leaders, and as they encamped in the sacred gathering, the Spirit of the Lord descended upon them. They prophesied and led the people in worship, their hearts ignited with the flame of divine purpose. They were knit together in mission, they found strength not in their numbers but in the unity of their calling to be vessels of His glory. Days passed through the arid wilderness, and soon they reached Mount Sinai, a rugged peak that loomed with the majesty of God. Upward they climbed, Moses ascending alone to the summit, drawn deeper into the embrace of God's presence. As he stood alone with the Almighty, the clouds enveloped Mount Sinai, shrouding it in the brilliance of His glory. The Lord gave him commandments, etched in stone, a covenant that would not only reveal holiness but set forth the pathway of grace. "These are the statutes and the judgments," the Lord spoke, "reveal them to the children of Israel, for through obedience, you shall be a light unto the nations." Descending from the mountain with his hands full of tablets, Moses beheld the people, and lo, they had turned away in haste. They fashioned a golden calf, ascribing the works of their own hands to the greatness that had brought them out of Egypt. Their hearts had grown fickle under the weight of uncertainty, and despair loomed where faith had once flourished. Anger burned within Moses, yet as he descended toward the encampment, he was reminded of a greater love, his heart resonating with compassion. He lifted his voice, "Turn from this wickedness. For the Lord your God has spoken." At that moment, the reality of his own journey surged through him, a deep understanding settled within, for Moses had learned that patience and intercession were not just roles of authority but woven into the very fabric of true leadership. "Forgive them, O Lord," he cried, falling upon his face before the altar of grace, "breathe mercy upon their folly, for I alone am not worthy to bear this charge." The Lord, seeing Moses' fervent heart, spoke with tenderness, "I will not forsake my people. Through the mediative prayer of one man, a nation can turn back to me. I will show mercy to whom I will show mercy." As he interceded for the people, the weight of Moses' burden lifted, for he realized he was but a vessel for the divine purpose woven through the trials they faced together, and so, the golden calf was crushed, ashes scattered upon the waters, and faith was rekindled within the hearts of the Israelites. In the wake of their return to the covenant, Moses led them through divine statutes, the very foundation of a nation formed in honor and reverence of Elohim, who delivered them from bondage. The commandments became not merely rules etched in stone, but measures of love breathed into the hearts of the people. Thus, the journey unfolded not just as a path through the wilderness but a pilgrimage toward a promise, a land flowing with milk and honey, waiting for them, and symbolizing the eternal promise through Christ yet to come. As generations passed, the stories of conquest and failure would echo, teaching the heart of mankind the immutable truth: God is faithful, His promises endure, and through even the darkest of storms, the light of His grace shall prevail. And Moses, as aged wisdom crafted by the hand of time, stood before his people on the brink of the promised inheritance. "Be watchful of the Lord's promises," he said, his voice unwavering, "for He shall lead you into a land not your own but woven into the very fabric of His heart, a land dedicated to worship, a sanctuary for generations." And the people responded with unified hearts, "We will follow the Lord our God, and He shall be our guide." Thus, the story of Moses and the children of Israel became etched into the annals of divine testimony, a testament of faith, hope, and redemption, whispering from generation to generation, the truth that God's promises never fail, and His plan shall prevail. Beloved, if you are moved by this tale of God's mercy and love, this is the moment to take part in sharing His truth with the world. You need to subscribe now to stay connected to God's Word and the powerful stories that reveal His character. Leave a like now to help spread God's Word through the algorithm, reaching those who need to hear of His faithfulness. Comment your spiritual reflections and share how Moses' journey has impacted your faith. It's vital for us to witness how God moves in our lives. And don't wait even one more second to share this powerful testimony with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's truth. Only true believers understand the importance of supporting biblical content to reach more souls for Christ. Join this mission, and together, let us proclaim His glory.